Jordan Bonifaz, and he's crossing the 50-yard line. He has no one to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Otterbein.
Good snap, good hold. The kick is up from Gaither, and it is good. Takes the give to Rudolph. Sizemore throwing off his back foot. What a catch by Bryson Ray! Oh my goodness!
Live from the studios at 33 College View, it's time for the TIm Doup Coaches Show on 97.5 WOBN. Now, here's your host, David Kinder.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome into the Week 7 edition of the TIm Doup Coaches Show from the studios of 33 College View here at WOBN 97.5. I'm your host, David Kinder. Thank you for everyone tuning in, whether you're listening on 97.5 on WOBN.net or recorded on WOBN's YouTube page. Thanks for tuning in to the show. Otterbein coming in off a huge victory, 32-20. They get the win over Muskingum in New Concord last Saturday. They advanced to 4-2 overall. 4-1 in OAC play. They're third place in the Ohio Athletic Conference, and now they have an 11-game winning streak against Muskingum University and a 2-game winning streak overall on the year. Our guest in studio today, head football coach TIm Doup and senior linebacker from Columbus, Ohio, a graduate of the Columbus Academy who had 11 tackles, a tackle for loss, and his first career college interception in the victory Saturday in Preston Pearson. Preston, you get your second win in a row. You end up leading the team in tackles, and you get an interception off a tip ball in the third quarter. Had to be pretty exciting.
It was very exciting. It was a big win for the team. It's emotionally, it was huge for us. I know for myself and the other defense guys on the field at the time, anything that went well for us was a huge victory for us on the field. Sometimes it was a downhill battle, but during that game, any victory we had, like I said, there's a big momentum for us.
Coach, sitting at 4-1 in league play after the win, like we said, you're still alive in the conference race. It has to be nice in this position this late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, we had that early loss in the conference, but, and Preston will tell you what I tell him every day is, hey, we got to prepare because we're still in the hunt. And, that's where we want to be come to the end of the year is we're taking it one game at a time and just, that's sort of a little motto we've created is we want to still be in the hunt.
Preston, the defense, especially the linebackers, had a really nice day getting to Muskingum's quarterback, Cody Williams. Got to him, sacked him 5 times, 26 sacks through 6 games on the year, by far the most in the OAC. How are you guys able to get so much pressure on the Muskies passer?
It comes down to a lot of the film time we spend. We look at the offensive line and the tendencies they have. We try to set up a perfect blitz package or rush package for it, and our guys just have a lot of heart and effort, so they have the mentality of nothing's going to stop them. They're going to get there, and I think that's what helps us get those sacks.
And we learned earlier in the week that your fellow middle linebacker, Austin Jones, was named OAC Player of the Week for his performance in the victory. Muskingum's first scoring drive, they get a 30-yard touchdown on a pass to Williams to Marvin Morris. It seemed like the coverage sort of broke down on that play. From looking at film, Marvis seemed to be wide open for the touchdown. What happened on the play to let him be that wide open?
It was a rainy day. DBs just kind of fell on the turf. We didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback, gave him too much time to throw, so it was an overall collective group thing.
With 3.5 minutes left in the first half of the game, Muskingum up by a single point. They had the ball in Otterbein territory at the 46-yard line. They face a big 4th down and 1, and they decide to go for it. They bobble the ball in the backfield. Austin Jones recovers the fumble. The defense was in the backfield immediately, which helped cause the fumble, and then Otterbein goes on to score a 54-yard touchdown 2 plays later to take the lead, a lead they would not give up the rest of the game. What was the call on that 4th down play? Did they dial up anything special?
We had a middle linebacker blitz. Jones was going in right on the snap of the ball, so our nose tackle got right there, right on the handoff, which helped cause the fumble, and Jones was just in the perfect area just to get on the ball right away.
It seemed like the momentum after that fumble recovery really shifted from the Muskies to Otterbein. Did you get that feeling on the field as well?
Oh, yeah. As soon as we got that fumble, we were excited, jumping around, ready to go. Couldn't wait to get back on the field as a defense just to continue to rack up stats and shut them down.
It was the third straight game that Otterbein went into the halftime break leading, but leading by a touchdown or less. The question we asked in the radio booth was whether this game would end up being like the Heidelberg game, where the defense gives up 24 second-half points, or the Capital game, where they hold them scoreless until the final minutes of the game. Fortunately, it worked out more like the Capital game, and Muskingum only scores one touchdown in the second half, and then they go on to fail on their two-point conversion. What halftime adjustments did defensive coordinator Alan Moore or Coach Doup make to be so successful in the second half defensively?
We had to take a look at how we were doing up on the front line, how we were just kind of flying out to begin with. We're headed to the outside to get the outside run, and we needed to focus more on the downhill battle run where they were getting us. Once we fixed that, our secondary kind of had a better containment, and that was the biggest thing we went into coming out of the locker room with, was just better coverage and better downhill run protection.
Lastly, on the defense, Preston, we knew that Muskingum was a very physical football team and perhaps a little undisciplined coming into this game. They committed an average of over 8 penalties in a game, 9th most in the league. It was a very chippy game out on the field. What was the mood like between the two teams down on the field?
You could just tell no one liked each other on either team. Words were flying left and right. There was cheap shots being taken, but Otterbein, we like to hold ourselves that we won't retaliate like that, so we try and keep away from it. But the mood out there was it was bad. It was a fun game to play, though.
Coach, as we said, it's a nice win to get, and as we just said, you can't talk about the win without mentioning those penalty flags. Yeah. 22 of them overall in the game, 13 on Otterbein, 9 on Muskingum. How concerning is that to you?
We've been really good with penalties all year. I think, our guys understand that penalties are what puts you in holes, and I don't worry about that. It's one of those games where it was very chippy. I even got one on myself. I guess the official didn't think I was back far enough. So, I can't hold them responsible if I'm getting them, but not that I agree with it. But, a couple pass interferences, a face mask here and there, not really anything late, cheap after the whistle. It was just mistakes on the field. So, very untypical of us, but, I didn't even address it with our guys. I think, they know, and it'll be fixed, just normal mistakes.
Seemed like the officials were very liberal with throwing the flags in the game, yet very conservative on bringing out the chains for close measurements. Seemed like there were a few plays that were very close, and they decided not to measure it, and it seemed like both coaching staffs were upset with the officiating at times. Is that true?
Well, there was one of them, that we had that it was close enough. I would like to have a measurement, but, sometimes they just go on their own and do what they're going to do. So, they didn't seem that there was a need for a measurement, but it's always nice to see how close we are or things like that.
You had to be pleased with the play of the offensive line. For the second consecutive week, they don't give up a sack. They open up huge holes for the backs to run through for 297 yards. Coach, you had to be pleased with their overall progression from week to week.
Yeah, ever since, that second half of that Heidelberg game, where we sort of went in the tank, I talked to the staff today, and, we're running the ball decently. And when you can run the ball, I think it opens up a lot of things. And I think we did a breakdown, and I forget what Coach D'Amico said, but out of every snap that we've taken this year, we are almost 50-50 run to pass. And we don't do that on purpose. It's just the way the game's going. And, I thought they played better. They got better again this week, and hopefully this week against B-Dub, we continue to get better in the basic things we're trying to do.
Looking at the running backs, you had a chance to use all of them. Four backs gained 50 yards or more for the first time this year. Reed Hutchinson goes for 111. The second straight week he's gone over 100. Drew was reliable. John Piles with a long 36-yard touchdown run. And Tyler Hammond, who hadn't carried the ball since the Week 1 loss to St. John Fisher, rips off a 37-yarder on his first carry. It must be nice to be able to use all four backs and all four of them come in and have such success.
Yeah, like I said, I think we've got a great stable of backs. And we need fresh legs. That was a hard physical game, and Drew got chipped up a little bit. He came off the side, and Reed was hurting a little bit also. Johnny went in and broke his big, long touchdown, and then, that last drive, we took 7.5 minutes off the clock to ice it and win it. And Speedy, Tyler Hammond had 2 huge runs in there. So, and he's a different kind. He's shiftier. If you watch him, he's shiftier. All 4 of them have a little bit of dynamic in what they do that's different. So it was great to get him in there and have some fresh legs and for him to bail us out a little bit.
We talked with Preston about the importance of that fumble recovery on 4th and 1, and right after that, Hutchinson goes 54 yards for a score to take the lead. Did you feel like that was a momentum changer in the game?
There's no doubt. You know, I felt this game scared me probably more than any games, just because I know how tough they play us. And we drive down, and you're on the 1-yard line, you have to kick a field goal. And then our next series, we're on the 3-yard line, you have to kick a field goal. I just had a feeling that, you know, things weren't going exactly the way I wanted. But, you know, with whatever time was left and everybody thought we were going to throw it, and we just ran what we normally run, and Reed broke that. You know, I felt right there. I felt really comfortable going in at halftime.
Looking at your quarterback, Brick Davis threw an interception right before half, but he really calmed down after that. Seemed to be his only real big mistake. He was 18 of 29, 179 yards, and a 67-yard passing touchdown to Ryan Toombs. What's your grade on Davis for the performance?
You know, Brick, he still runs the show. You know, I think he's still making some mistakes that he knows he's making. But, you know, he's the leader, and we always tell him, like I say every week, is, you know, make us right. There's a couple things he made us wrong, but there's a lot on his plate. I think he's thinking a lot out there, and he wants to play quicker. And, you know, I'm trying to slow the game down. When we got the lead, I'm thinking, let's run this clock down, and he's out there going crazy, saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm thinking, hey, we got the lead here. Let's milk this a little bit. But he just wanted to keep going. But, you know, I'd say Brick was probably a B, somewhere in there, just because of some of the things he did miss. But, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I put full confidence in him right now and what he's doing. He's making our offense go.
And lastly, Coach, again, the special teams had its highs and lows. Jordan Keaton only had to punt twice, but one of them he shanked and only went 11 yards. Lana Gaither had 3 field goals, and freshman Quentin Miller had 32. 4 field goals overall ties the school record for most in one game. However, Alana did miss an extra point, and we saw trouble keeping kickoffs in bounds again. What's the overall grade on the special teams?
You know, we on our chart, we got 6 out of the 10. But you know, we cannot continue to kick the ball out of bounds and give them the ball on the 35-yard line when we have great coverage that we can try to pin them inside the 20. You know, that's just giving them a free 15 yards. You know, Alana, I think it was wide left. I think she's overcompensating at times. And, you know, the one before that, if you watch, she barely got it over the cross. She kicked the ground literally before. And I don't know if the next one she thought she had to overcompensate a little bit. And, you know, she just went wide left. But she did kick 3 field goals. Quentin banged one, you know, from 32, I think it was. So I feel more confident now if we get down there to where, hey, if we need 3, we can, you know, go to one or the other. But, you know, the kicking game, I mean, 6 out of 10. You know, if you can get 8 out of 10, you're going to win a lot of them, those goals. So 6 out of 10, not bad, but I'd rather be around 8, to be honest.
Otterbein gets the win 32-20. They've won 11 in a row over the Fightin' Muskies. They now sit at 4-2, 4-1 in league play. We'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll get the scouting report on the Yellow Jackets of Baldwin Wallace, and we'll see what Otterbein has to do to get the victory. You're listening to the TIm Doup Coaches Show with David Kinder, TIm Doup, and linebacker Preston Pearson. We'll be right back after this.
Fewer than 5 out of 100 people give blood. Ever wonder why they do it?
It's the one thing that we can do that we can always afford to do, and hey, you get a snack afterwards. So
snacks are great. I had never knew my blood type, and I found out in doing this that I'm O negative. So there's that added pressure knowing that everyone can use my blood at any time, and so I feel like it's my responsibility.
It's a little extra bragging power too, knowing that you're a universal giver.
Yeah, I'm pretty special.
Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org to make an appointment today.
Hi, I'm Junior Center Grant Offenberger. You're listening to the TIm Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. Miss anything from today's episode, you can listen to every show on WOBN's YouTube page.
Hey Cardinal fans, Otterbein Athletics on the Radio is brought to you in part by Westerville Automotive. Serving the Westerville area for 20 years, they have 2 locations on Westerville Road and in the Uptown area, just seconds away from Otterbein on Main Street. They're on the web at westervilleautomotive.com. You can follow them on Facebook at Westerville Automotive Uptown or call them at 614-890-6700.
I used to be one of those irresponsible guys, always goofing off and acting like a real jerk. Girls wouldn't give me the time of day. Hey, Julie, do you have the time?
Shut up.
Then, 30 days before my 18th birthday, I went down to my local post office and registered with Selective Service overnight. I became aware of the man I had suddenly become, eligible for federal student loans, government jobs, and job training, responsible and mature. Hi, Julie. Dinner tonight?
I'd love to, Brad.
So register with Selective Service. It's what a man's gotta do.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do yourself a favor. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA, America's Wireless Companies, and the National Safety Council.
Welcome back into the studios of 33 College View for the Week 7 edition of the TIm Doup Coaches Show. I'm your host, David Kinder. In the studio with me is linebacker Preston Pearson and head football coach TIm Doup. And it's time now for our scouting report on the Yellow Jackets of Berea, the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets. They come to this game with the same exact record as Otterbein, 4-2, but 3-2 in league play. They're riding a 3-game winning streak and beat Wilmington 56-14 last week. Coach, it always seems like it's an interesting game when the Cardinals and the Yellow Jackets meet up. Your first year in 2012, you traveled to Berea. You upset the Yellow Jackets, who were ranked 9th in the country at the time, 38-17. Last year, both teams come to the game 2-2, but the overall feeling around Westerville was that they had a very strong team, but Otterbein was able to run the ball all over them and get the 19-7 win. Every year you guys play in your head coaching tenure, when the two get together, you have the same record, and it always seems to be an interesting game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, our first year going up there, I didn't know how good we were that year. We had been playing well, but after that game, I thought we were a pretty good football team. And last year we were on that bubble. We're 2-2. Which way are we going to go? I thought that was a real pivotal game for us, and we were fortunate enough to come out and Drew Irvin exploded for 200 and some yards, and we sort of controlled the ball, and the defense played really well. Keeping them out of the end zone. And here we go again this year, we're going up there, sort of the same situation. I think this is a turning point for us and a very crucial football game. So, Lord only knows what's going to happen.
Coach John Snell's team, he is the grandfather of the conference, I guess now. 12 years, He has the most wins among active coaches. What do you remember about Coach Snell's teams from previous years that could give Otterbein some troubles offensively?
Well, you mean our offense against their defense, right? Or okay? Their defense is real sound. Right now they've got some veterans back in the secondary. I think 3 starters back in the secondary, 3 D linemen, and 2 linebackers are back. So, with that being said, we got to find ways to be able to run and pass. And they have a very good player. One of their DNs, Riemann Schneider, number 9, is playing right now, out of this world, to be honest. I think he's been OAC Player of the Week 2 times in a row, and we got to find a way to, utilize ways to, keep him contained a little bit and not let him go.
Preston, you're 2-1 in your career against BW. What do you remember about most playing them from the past 3 games that could give Otterbein some trouble?
They have a really good quarterback. He likes to scramble, and when he has to, he can get out. So I think our biggest threat right there is just keeping him contained and not letting him scramble and get those extra yards. That's what's hurt us a lot in the past on defense against Baldwin Wallace.
They're an offense that doesn't turn the ball over very often, only giving it away 8 times so far this year. Last week, the defense gets 3 turnovers, all that end up playing very important in the victory. How important will it be to force them into making some mistakes and forcing turnovers?
We always have a goal to have at least 3 defensive turnovers for us. we think if we win that goal, it gives us a huge opportunity and huge momentum boost for the game. So I think it's very important we do try and get at least 3. It's one of our goals. So we just hope we get it all, and if we do, it's a good start for the defense.
Just like Otterbine's offense, their offense is very balanced, averaging 174 yards passing a game and 190 yards rushing per game. What challenges does that bring facing a team that will try to beat you both on the ground and in the air?
We have to kind of be more conservative on our play calling. Last 2 weeks we've had teams that like to run the ball. So we've been more of a run-stop defense. Now we have to focus on more pass and run together. So we're going to practice all week and watch film on what works best against their offense and really study their line and try and learn some of their giveaways.
The Otterbein defense ranks in the top half in the OAC in almost every single statistical category, giving up 25 points per game, 3rd best in the league, 4th in the league in rush defense and pass defense. But what do you think is the biggest area of concern for the defense to work on in this week's practice leading up to BW?
I would have to say, just as a defense in general, is just reading our keys better. Sometimes we all bite on runs when it's a pass, and sometimes we'll just bail out and think it's a pass play when it's a run. We all get caught on it, so we just have to read our keys a little better and really work on tackling when we get to the runner instead of just kind of diving in at them.
Coach, we talked about how their offense doesn't turn it over much, but their defense does like to take it away and is very opportunistic. They have scored 3 defensive touchdowns this year. You know, it's been said that a defensive score is like a touchdown and a half because how much momentum it takes away. How important is it to limit those big defensive plays?
Well, we've got to key. That it's huge. We can't put the ball on the ground. And Brick's got to be smart throwing the football and reading what he needs to see. They've returned. Well, I mean, they beat Marietta on a pick. The defensive end picked it off, ran it back to win against Marietta. And then the same defensive end, I forget when I was watching film, has another one, a scoop and score, and he rumbles about 80 yards. So, we've got to be very smart in what we do with the football, and we can't allow them, obviously. We've got to have 0 turnovers to be successful.
It might be another cliche, but they say control the ball and you control the game. But Otterbein is 9th in the conference of offensive time of possession, only controlling the ball for 29 minutes each game. How important is that to you?
Well, I mean, as long as we're scoring, it's fine. You look at other offenses, and if your time of possession's down, but you're still putting points on the board, then you're okay. I don't think we're a big ball control team. We try to go up tempo as much as we can. So, as long as we're still moving the ball, I have no problem with that.
You've already mentioned him twice, so I know he's a concern for you. But talking about their defensive end, the 6'4", 230-pound senior end, Luke Remenschneider, he plays the run very well. He scored 2 defensive touchdowns this year and has won back-to-back OAC Defensive Player of the Week awards. When you have such a talented guy on the other end of that defense, what differently do the tackles and the offense in general have to do to prepare for him?
Well, you got to be aware of where he is all the time. Right now, a lot of the time he lines up on our left. Justin Kriffsoff's our left tackle, and he got the best of Justin a little bit last year after we watched the film again. So, I'm going to challenge him, challenge Justin to just play within himself, try to control him. Don't do anything crazy. Just do what he's been doing fundamentally, and it's going to be a one-on-one matchup, and he's just got to win the battle.
Would you ever run a play away from a certain side of the field because of one player's reputation defensively?
Yeah, there's times you need to do that. I mean, absolutely. Either that or you slide protections to him. You don't want people on an island. So there's been times when, we find out where somebody is and you go the opposite way. Now, whether we do that or not, I don't know. But I'm not planning on that, put it that way.
You already alluded to it, but in last year's win over BW, Drew Irvin broke out for 234 yards rushing, 2 runs over 70 yards. Before and since then, however, he's yet to rush for 100 yards in a game. Why was he able to have such a great day against them a year ago, and do you think we could see it again today, on Saturday?
Well, Drew's, if you notice in our game plan right now, Drew's our downhill runner. And we've got other guys that have a little bit more speed to get laterally on the outsides, and he's even admitted to that. He likes to run downhill, where last year – we just flat out lined up and went downhill, and that's his forte. So, we're still going to do some things with him, but we have other running backs too. So I think if you keep fresh legs in there and these guys keep rotating in and out, it's always good to have fresh legs, but sometimes that's bad because a tailback needs time to settle into the game and get his rhythm. And last year he got a rhythm, and that's why he just stayed in the game the whole time.
Something to keep an eye on Saturday for everyone who goes or tunes into the game. Michael Slack, who was their quarterback last year, has switched to wide receiver. He's their second leading receiver, and the junior from Canton, Tyler Moglin, is now their signal caller. Coach, lastly, and looking to the BW game, on the injury front, was there anyone who was banged up in the win over Muskingum that might cause them to miss or sit out for the BW game?
No. I think we're beat up. I mean, we're at that point in the season, where we're starting to struggle a little bit just because our bodies are starting to, deteriorate a little bit just from the beatings. But, no, I think we come out healthy, and I think we'll be okay.
Saturday's game with the Yellow Jackets will kick off at 1:30. If you can't make it to Berea, you can tune in for full coverage here on 97.5 WOB. And myself and the alumnus, Josh Overholzer, will have the call from George Finney Stadium. Live coverage of that game will start around 1 o'clock. We'll take our second break. When we come back, though, we'll get Preston Pearson and head football coach TIm Doup's opinions on who are some of the Heisman frontrunners in major college football. You're listening to the TIm Doup Coaches Show on 97.5 WOBN. We'll be right back.
Sport that unites fans, players, and coaches alike in a spirit of competition and camaraderie. Football season has come to our area, and while you're watching a game with friends or sharing in the excitement with family, be sure to celebrate responsibly. Never pick up the keys and drive if you've had too much to drink. And if you're 21, drinking alcohol is against the law. Remember, alcohol is different. Let's all work together to keep our roads and community safe and have a winning season.
Be sure to log on to WOBN.net for a complete broadcast schedule of music, talk shows, and sports. That's WOBN.net.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold
I want to
day.
be a football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Would your business survive a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
Can't make it to one of the football games this year? Well, WOBN has you covered with live broadcast of all 10 football games this year, home and away. Join us 30 minutes before kickoff for pregame and stay with us long after the final whistle for analysis and updates on what else happened in college football. It's all right here on 97.5 WOBN and streaming live anywhere in the world on WOBN.net. Welcome back to the Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. Joining me in studio is football coach TIm Doup and senior linebacker Preston Pearson. It's time now for the segment of the show where we get Coach and Preston's opinion on something else besides Otterbein football. And this week we're going to be talking about one of the most prestigious awards in not just college football but all of football, the Heisman Memorial Trophy. And we're going to get their opinions on some of the front runners are about the halfway point through major college football for the big time award that they'll announce in December. According to ESPN, the current top five sits at this right now. It's Mississippi State quarterback Dak Prescott, who's a dual threat guy, has the number one team in the country. Oregon's quarterback Marcus Mariota, he has thrown 19 touchdowns this year, 0 interceptions. Wisconsin's running back Melvin Gordon, 13 rushing touchdowns for the Badgers, leads the Big Ten. And Notre Dame quarterback Everett Golston threw for 333 yards in the loss to Florida State last Saturday, the only loss this year for the Irish. And I left off number 5 because ESPN still listed it as Todd Gurley, the Georgia running back, who is no longer on the team, kicked off for the rules violations. I imagine guys like Bryce Petty for Baylor fell out after the West Virginia loss. And then, of course, Jameis Winston, always on the bubble for his controversial actions, but still a talented player. So we'll get your guys' opinion. If you had a vote for the Heisman, who would you give it to right now, and who are some of the other guys contending for it? Coach, we'll start with you.
I would agree with her number one. Mississippi State's, Prescott. He's a do-it-all guy. He can throw, he can run, and he's got his team number one in the country. So I mean, you really can't argue with that. Plus, a shout out here to Brady Collins, who was on our 2008 team here in our playoffs, was a captain here. He's the assistant strength coach at Mississippi State. So, they're doing a great job down there. But right now, I'd have to go with Prescott, and I would say Mariota. I mean, he's a good number 2. If it comes down to it, it could be just those two. The rest of them, I don't think. I think it's a 2-man race right now.
19 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah,
that's
unbelievable.
And no chance for Jameis Winston, the winner last year as a freshman. Is that because of his play on field or because of his actions off field?
I think it's just the way he's rubbed people the wrong way, and the things that have been brought up, and everything that's all these allegations, and I think people look at that, even though you're supposed to look at what they do on the field. I still think it comes to a little bit of character issues. So I mean, he might be thrown in there. I mean, he played probably the best second half I've seen anybody ever play. Last weekend against Notre Dame, came out and was on fire and did some great things. So I mean, I don't think you can ever count him out.
Preston, you told me during the break that you're a Michigan fan. So is there any chance that you're pulling for Wisconsin's running back Melvin Gordon, a Big Ten guy, to bring home the stiff arm trophy?
It'd always be nice to have another Big Ten guy win the Heisman Trophy winner, but I'd have to agree with Coach. I think Prescott's that's still going to be the top runner. Like I was saying during the break, Mississippi State came out of nowhere from last year. They don't even know if they were in the top 25 at all. And then this year they're number 1, and they're putting up stats left and right. Like you said, he's a dual threat. He's something you got to worry about no matter where you are.
What about Jameis Winston, Florida State's quarterback? Any chance of him repeating and being only the second 2-time Heisman Trophy winner with Archie Griffin?
I don't believe so. Not only did he have to miss a game because of actions off the field, which, like Coach said, you just rub people the wrong way. You got to look at how people carry themselves on and off the field, and I think that's what makes the Heisman such a prestigious award.
Of the names I listed here, all of them have something in common. They're all offensive players. Now, since they switched to 2-platoon football, no one who plays exclusively defense, Charles Woodson, the closest guy who also returned kicks and played a little receiver, has ever won the Heisman Trophy. Now, you're a defensive guy. Is there anyone out there in college football right now that plays defense that you think could be considered for the Heisman?
As much as I'd love to, I don't think so. If you just look at the past couple years, even up to Woodson, it's always been an offensive guy, someone who puts up the numbers left and right, the big name of the team. So I kind of put a defensive player on that board right now.
They've been giving out the award since 1935, and no one who exclusively plays defense has ever won. Maybe sometime soon we'll see it, though, perhaps.
Good.
Coach Preston, thank you for your time and joining us in the studio. We appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone who tuned into today's episode. If you missed anything from today's show, you can listen to it in every show in its entirety on WOBN's YouTube page. Remember, if you can't make it to Berea for Saturday's game, you can follow the action here on WOBN with live coverage starting at 1 and play-by-play at 1:30. Myself and Josh Overholzer, the WHIZ anchor, currently will have the call. For linebacker Preston Pearson and Coach Doup, this is David Kinder saying so long. We'll talk to you all Saturday.